Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler Podcast. We're glad you can join us. As you can see, my dad is not here this week, but I'm joined by my wife, who I'll introduce here in a second. But before we begin, we just want to say thank you, as always, to Teaching Textbooks for making the Smiling Homeschooler possible. They're just an amazing math curriculum and an amazing company, and we're a huge supporter of what they do, and they're a big supporter of what we do. So we appreciate all their... Can you hear that? It's not terrible static in there. Give me 1 second here. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, Teaching Textbooks is an amazing supporter of what we do, and we really appreciate all that they have done for us, and you can check them out over at teachingtextbooks.com. Also, today's show is being underwritten by Samaritan Ministries, a community of Christians who pay one another's medical bills, helping families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or ministry changes or in bringing moms home. And you can learn more over at samaritanministries.org/familyman. Okay, before we begin, can you hear say something?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So as I said in the intro, Dad's not here this week. He is at a basketball game, but I'm joined by my wife, Rissa.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about some stuff that she's been going through here recently. But so this conversation, it's going to be great. It's going to be super encouraging. I think any mom who's gone through a hard season is going to really want to listen to this. But, there might be a couple things we talk about that, you may not be appropriate for younger children. So if you do listen to this, just as it's going, just it's nothing horrible or anything like that, nothing wrong, but it's just some heavier topics that we wouldn't necessarily bring up with our kids yet. So just a warning before we get going here. But I do want to say also, we just had our first snow here, which has been super fun. We've been playing outside with the kids, and that's just a really fun time. So if you're in somewhere, one of the colder climates that has gotten some snow, just loosening up on the school day, letting the kids play outside is, I think, a great fun thing to do. So I know our kids have been enjoying it.
I've been drying all the snow clothes a few times a day, so that it's ready for them to go back out when they played outside. It was like almost 2 hours. I sent them out right after lunch, and they played with Jed, their uncle, next door outside, and it was pretty cold, so I was surprised how long they played, but the sun was out, so
yeah. I mean, if it's even remotely close to, not like 10 below, I don't feel like it really matters. At least it didn't when I was a kid. I mean, we played out constantly for hours and hours and hours.
They just don't feel cold the same as we do, I think. So
moving so fast the whole time too. But so I don't know. We'll get into kind of it. But so Rissa's just been, and I'll let her kind of speak to, more specifically. But for the last few months, Rissa's just been going through a lot. Every day really has just been a hard struggle for her. We're coming out of that season, it seems like now, finally, after really almost 3 months to the day, tomorrow, I think, or something like that. So it's been quite a long season.
Not that you're keeping track.
Yeah. It was marked by, it was the day after Maggie, our sister-in-law's wedding, is where it kind of all just went downhill. But maybe you can kind of share a little bit about what's been going on and kind of just where it's led you, and we'll kind of start there.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many details and everything, so I'll try to just keep it as basic as it can be. But life recently has looked very different than what my normal, I will say, life typically looks like. Like 3 months ago, just started not being able to deal with some things that have been a part of my life. I had some, I'm a victim of sexual abuse as a kid. Big, long story there. But it all comes down to really that trauma and PTSD from things like that really has no timeline, is what I'm learning. I went to years and years of counseling as a child and a teenager. And really, like when Ben and I met, I was just coming out of that phase of healing. And yeah, really since then, it's affected me in ways, but not debilitatingly, I will say, until, these last 3 months. And yeah, it's been something that has been really uncomfortable, has been the hardest thing, besides labor, that I have gone through. So yeah, just so much, memories, things coming up. I also have some physical things going on that has caused nausea, for the last 3 months every day. Thankfully, I am seeing a little change in that, the last week or so. But there's triggers basically that are a part of really any trauma, and nauseousness is one of the biggest triggers that I have that takes me right back to the trauma and my childhood, and that part of my childhood. I would say I had an amazing childhood outside of that, and that is a big story about God's goodness in that part of my life too, and his protection over me. And but being nauseous is a trigger to that, and so being nauseous every day and being constantly in the state of being triggered has debilitated me in ways that I was just not prepared for at all, which has led to a mom and a homeschool mom that is not functioning at all. I needed help every morning to even get my kids fed. And thank goodness that we have the best family ever, and friends, because I honestly would not. I don't know. I could not have
I don't know
done
what we
it
would
in
do
any way without our families. So yeah, that has been the last few months for me. And yeah, where do you want to go?
I mean, and not trying to whatever, but I mean, debilitating is, this was, from the moment her eyes opened till, middle of the afternoon, almost just struggling and fighting with this and wrestling. And, my mom was over and her mom would be over, and it was a lot, so obviously that makes it pretty tough to be, parenting and homeschooling through all of that. And I guess just, some of this has been, I will say also, like, through all of this, it has been, I think, healing. It's grown our relationship. So if you're a mom, and you've either gone through something like this, whether it could be a miscarriage, it could be, something with your spouse that happened, it could be loss of a loved one, it could be, there's so many things that can cause a really, really, really hard season. And I don't just mean like math's hard right now. I mean, like, there's just stuff outside of even just homeschooling, whether, maybe it's an older kid who's going through some really bad choices, whatever it may be. There's, a season where it just makes it feel like you just can't even barely function as a person. It can be medical stuff. And that's, really been Rissa's life for the last, and as a, husband, is, it's affected our whole family for the last few months. So it's given us, I think, another great, just perspective, and a big thing that for Rissa that has been giving herself grace and trusting in God's promises through all of this, that it doesn't fall on her, that she is forgiven for anything, that it's up to him with our children, that he is a steward of our children, or we're the stewards, but our children are his. So going through all of this has just been really, really vital to remember all these truths and tough. So I guess maybe you could just even say, like, what has homeschooling looked like then for the last few months, because of all this hard season, and maybe you can kind of talk about some of that.
And I kind of meant to lead with this because this helps, me see purpose and just ultimately trusting God's plan for these last few months. At the beginning of this year, I was really frustrated, honestly, with myself and how God's word, the way God's word was a part of our everyday life and just our home in general. I felt like I would, go to God's word, but I was okay. Like I'm fine. And I was not fine. And I remember specifically, I prayed one day in our living room as I was looking at our kids, and I was like, Lord, like, do something in my life to make me uncomfortable, to wreck me so that I would only go to your word to be, to stand on, and that our kids, our family, our marriage your word would be the center of everything to us. And that was at the beginning of this year, in like the spring, that I prayed that. And I truly believe that he is answering my prayer, has answered my prayer of that in these last few months, because I have been clinging to his word. And so just before we move on, to the homeschooling part, I just want to say, like, if you have, or anyone has gone through, any trauma, any way, hurt, anger, grieving, truly the only place you can turn to is the word of God and his truth. And he speaks to us. There was days where I would call Ben and I would say, he doesn't hear me. I'm crying out to him and he's not hearing me. I feel so alone in this. And you would remind me of truth. And the Lord really spoke to me and said, but are you listening to me? I'm here. Are you listening? And he would just, go to your Bible, go to my word. And every time he met me there faithfully. And so my relationship with him is so much deeper and richer, even through the pain of what these last few months have been. Like you said, like our relationship and our kids, I keep saying my kids, our kids have seen and have learned so much more than what they would have if we were just opening the textbooks every day. In these last few months, they've seen a husband truly for better or for worse, taking care of his wife. They have seen family and just what a gift family and friends are, and how to care for someone who is really hurting and struggling. They have seen tangible ways of that. And I know God's changing even my mothering to them. I can relate to them differently now than I could have a few months ago. I understand them more, and we've had conversations that I wouldn't have had with them outside of this. So yeah, all that to say, homeschooling has not been opening the books at all, really. I mean, this last week we have been able to, and I, would find myself, honestly, lots of days I didn't even think about school. It wasn't even a thought in my head for, I'd say, 70% of the last few months, because that wasn't even in the priority list. I was just trying to get them fed and keep them alive. So I just want to say, if you are going through a season where that's where you are, lay down all the guilt and the shame, because it's not yours to carry. And your children are going to learn far more valuable things than what they will get from their books. And I hope that's only an encouragement to you, and that you're not alone, because it can feel like you're alone. And you see, you look on wherever, social media, or even, just people in your life, and you're like, okay, well, they're doing school and okay, that's okay. And you're in a season right now, and you can just lay that down, and you can let God do the healing in you so that you can move forward. So yeah, truly that's where we've been.
And I feel like part of that, something we talk about a lot at the Smiling Homeschooler, but has had to be real, is just being real with the people around us, and just being okay with saying, I'm not okay right now. I need help. And that's tough. I mean, that is, it's always the cliche thing, but part of, healing from something or fixing a problem is acknowledging it and being okay with saying, I'm just not okay right now. I'm going to need, whether it is a family member or friend, support, or pastor or church, people, whatever it may be. And that's okay to say, because we've needed that a lot here recently.
Yeah.
And,
even people just bringing meals. And someone would ask, hey, can I set up meals for you, bring meals? And my instinct is like, no, I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to put anyone out. Like, we'll figure it out. But really, I just typed yes. Like, just say yes and let people come around you and love you and help carry the load when you're in that season.
Yeah. And and you said it, and just this as a whole, is if you are going through this hard time, hard season, is you are not the only one by even 1,000 miles. There's so many people who are struggling extremely hard every day. And if you don't have a support system, our heart goes out to you, because I can't even imagine how much of a burden that is on you. And if we know you, and if you wanted to message us and ask you to pray, we'd be happy to pray for you, because I can't imagine, but you are not alone no matter what. There are, one, God is with you, but two, also there's so many people who are having a hard time out there. And so don't feel unnormal or like everyone else has it together, as we always say. But I hate to jump into this, but I think this is fitting, because one of the things we do, teaching textbooks is part of what we do, but they have still been part of our last couple months. And really one of the things that has only been part of our traditional homeschooling in terms of books and all that kind of stuff. So maybe explain how that's been the last couple of months, because you said just today that, that's been really helpful through all this time.
Yeah. I thought earlier this week, or I guess it's only Tuesday, maybe it was the end of last week, and I was like, okay, maybe we can get some school done. And Renly only got math done, and that was only because she could go. And I thought then I need to do a commercial for teaching textbooks, because this is just amazing. She can do it all on her own. This is her first year doing teaching textbooks, because she's in 3rd grade now. I'm talking about Renly, if I said that. But she can go in, get on the computer. She can log in herself. She loves it. She thinks it's so fun. She has her own little login, and she... it's so easy for her to navigate. She clicks on the lesson she's on, and she can, from start to finish. There are times where, majority of the time, I think I've had to go in and help her twice since we've started teaching textbooks. So from start to finish, and then she comes out, she's like, okay, I'm done. And then I get emailed her score of how many questions she got, and that's it. And I'm having that eliminated off of my plate of her math is like so huge right now, and such a gift and such a blessing. And it just helps lighten the load of in a practical way. So yeah, I'm just super grateful for it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's the big, you know, as we were saying earlier, it's just having the being okay and taking the great or having grace on yourself to just let it go if you have to for a little while. And that's okay. You're not behind. You're not going to, you know, your kids aren't going to fail in life or anything like that. It is okay. And you will pick it back up. Nothing's going to last forever. You know, there will be a time where things get better and you can move forward and get back to your more normal stuff. But if there is a season that is 100% okay, you know, we were just talking to someone else we know, and they're I don't know if they're homeschooled, but their child just had a major medical issue and they're in the hospital right now. You know, that's a season where no matter what, you don't get the choice. You're going to have disruption, you know, and if that's you, don't even think about it. Don't ever feel guilt. You're going to be fine. If you live in a state that's tough, you're going to be okay. You can fill out the stuff that says you've done 180 days. You can look at the actual law. You don't have to, you know, you're going to be okay. Your kids aren't going to drop behind. There's going to...
And even... Oh, sorry.
Nope, go for it.
I was just going to say, like, even you saying, like, it will get better. But in my mind, I instantly just thought, like, you know, what our kids have learned in these last 3 months is the better.
Yeah,
like,
right.
This is the better of, you know, for their life, what they are going to truly remember. I know they're going to remember this season. And God has been so gracious. I mean, there's been hard days, and we've, you know, had to say I'm sorry's, and, you know, because it's when you're in such a straining situation, patience is low, but there's grace, and we can talk through those conversations. And I just think outside of this, would we have? I don't know. Maybe God would have used something else, but I can just look at it and I'm like, okay, this was the better for this season. And that's true for everyone, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I guess so, you know, if there is a mom, yeah, you know, you've mentioned grace. Is there anything else you'd want to, just from what you've been learning, what you've been going through, want to encourage a mom who is going through the hard season, or maybe has had a hard season, or, you know, maybe it's a mom who hasn't had one of those yet, but chances are there is going to be a period of time where you are going to go through something hard. Everyone most likely will at some point. So I think, you know, kind of being prepared for that, because I think if your expectations are that there are going to be hard things, it's much more likely that you'll make it through it than if you just think, oh, it's getting really hard. I just gotta, you know, I'm going to have to quit this, or this is not, we're going to have to stop homeschooling because it's just, I can't do it right now. What would you say?
I mean, we kind of already touched a little bit on this, but, you know, support systems, like truly being honest, even when things are good, and looking around, and, you know, if you see someone close to you that is going through a season like that, you know, you support them and walk through it with them, so that, you know, they can help you when you're in a hard season, and there's that trust there and that bond. I would say that's like a way that you can kind of set up, you know, and kind of prepare if you can. I think moms just feel guilt easily over lots of things. And I'm still in the process of learning to lay that down, and give myself grace in a lot of areas in my life, but specifically, you know, this area. And I think it's just in us that we do, but I don't know a practical way really, other than just to ask God to just relieve that, and he's there to take that burden from you, and fill you with truth instead. So
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I would say, I mean, all of it, again, as you obviously know, we're, strong believers. And I mean, you really being in the Word, trusting God's promises that, even if we are unworthy, He still loves us. If we're, if we're His children, that is unconditional. It's not because of what we've earned and what we deserve. There's a lot of truths that, we all say them and we believe it, but when the going gets tough, that is where it really does count, and believing that stuff and showing our children that, because we say like obedience isn't just for, we teach our children to obey, not just when, it's fun and convenient. If you say, okay, go eat as much candy as you can. I mean, that's not, I mean, they're obeying maybe, but that's not really like the heart of obedience. The heart of obedience is even if they don't want to, they still have to do it. And that's tough. I mean, it's something that we have to work with our kids every day. And I'm sure you do too. But, that's the same for us, is when God's asked us to trust Him, even when it doesn't feel obvious, or even when we're having a hard time doing that, that's when true obedience to Him is really, really counts. So that's something
and He's so faithful. Like,
yeah.
He's so faithful. And like I said, there was days where I was like, weeks that I felt so that He had, forgotten me. And that's just not true. And it feels that way, and it feels isolating, like you're the only one. But it's just not truth. And you can silence that. And this is something I'm working on, is really just saying, no, that's not truth. Even if you have to say it out loud, that's not true.
Yeah.
And go to God's word, or just pray, or just in that moment silence it. And you can, when you start to feel those feelings of guilt of like, oh, we haven't done this, or it's been days since we gotten in the books, or whatever, just silence that. It's just not true. And you can lay it down. And it's a lot easier to just say, but the more I'm learning now, the more you practice that, you will start feeling that lifted, because He is there with open hands.
And even if you're not going through something like, trauma or something like that, like there's still just times where it's going to be a struggle and it's going to feel exhausting, and you're going to start listening to those lies that aren't true. And Dad actually wrote a book on it called Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe, which, not all of it has, is specifically speaking what Rissa is. But if you do feel like you are listening to the homeschool lies of, oh, everyone else is doing a better job, my kids are going to, fail, I can't do it, I'm not smart enough, all that kind of stuff, which a lot of times comes when we're not feeling great, or we're, maybe having a harder time in homeschooling. I think it's a great read if you are struggling with listening to any of those lies. And again, that's Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe over on our website. But just a side thing, it made me think of that.
Yeah, and just that on a deeper level too. I just want to say, like, if anyone has experienced any deep trauma like that, just that, and maybe I said this earlier, but just know that you are not alone. It feels isolating, because it's not something that's talked, you're not going to have a casual conversation about, things like that. But I counsel, and truly just being open with your loved ones who you feel comfortable of, okay, this is truly, like, I feel like you and I then you've understood me more in these last, not that I knew really that I was blocking a lot of it. But that's where true relationships, that's where they grow. Yeah. And so, and
I'm just thankful, that, in this situation, that she is a homeschooling mom, that Rissa is, that she gets to be home, so she doesn't have a job that she's having to worry about, that she, can just be there with our kids. We're still making good memories. We're still having fun moments, all of that. And that's just such a gift. And even just the room to heal through all of this is something that, I don't want to take for granted, and I'm very thankful for. So, it's been big time for a lot of change in our lives. And I'm sure, anyone who's farther along has had to go through stuff like this at some point. Especially with medical, there's just a lot of medical stuff, and Rissa's had, like professional help. There's people, in her life who are just trying to get answers. So it adds a lot. So if you're balancing appointments and all that stuff, that's awesome. That's part of homeschooling. That's what makes it so great. And I think it's really cool. I will say also, I didn't say it earlier, but we do want to thank also Samaritan Ministries. They actually can help in situations like this. If this is something you are wanting to make a change, or your husband is, and, maybe traditional insurance is not an option, or just you want to save money, Samaritan Ministries is an amazing thing. And they can, you can submit things like that might be medical related where you need extra help. And it's just a bunch of the other Christians helping share each other's medical bills. So it's really amazing, and you can check them out over at samaritanministries.org/familyman. But yeah, anything else you want to say, Riss? Or otherwise, I think we can start wrapping it up.
I don't think so. I think that was, that's just where we're at. And we're, I think now, it's not going to be so much, maybe every day is where I'm not functioning. We've seen that in the last week. And I'm so thankful for that. But even, if you're not going through a season of that, there still might just be hard days, in a row, and then easier days. And that's something I'm reminding myself of, and that's okay. Like this, we don't have it perfect here. And that was never, that's not what we're here for, to have perfection. And it's just not going to be. And, so, we can try to have, all the days, lined up, but reality is it's just not me, and that's okay. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being willing to share, your heart and just your experience over the last couple months. And for any moms who are listening, if that's you, or if you know someone who's going through something hard, maybe share this with them, because we just want the takeaways to be trusting in God and His promises. Being open to your friends, leaning on them, being real as yourself, being a listener to others who maybe need to share, so that they can feel encouraged and safe to open up and have those kind of conversations. Because none of this is better in isolation. That it can and will get better. That you're not alone. And that homeschooling is an amazing thing, and it's especially amazing during times that are just a hard season of life. And I think if you remember those things, and it's going to help you smile more. And we appreciate everyone being here and joining us. If you want to reach out, if you ever have a question or want to get in touch with us, you can message us on Facebook. You can also email us at familyman@familymanweb.com, and we can relay that on to Rissa. If you have anything you wanted to talk to her or my dad or me or anything else, you can always do that. We also want to thank Teaching Textbooks for helping make the Smiling Homeschooler possible. They're an amazing math curriculum and help thousands of homeschoolers smile each and every day. You can check them out over at teachingtextbooks.com. Also, today's show is being underwritten by Samaritan Ministries, a community of Christians who help pay one another's medical bills. And this helps families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or in ministry changes or in just bringing moms home. And you can learn more over at samaritanministries.org/familyman. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great week, and don't forget to smile.